Oh, hey there neighbors, so glad you could join us today. In this special, never before seen episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to make this wonderful and wholesome toy crossbow. Now I know what some of you might be thinking, Eli, if I squint my eyes and tilt my head just right, that looks a gosh awful lot like that crossbow you just uploaded the build of. What gives? What, did you spend 2 weeks in your 30 degrees below freezing garage building a crossbow and then a whole entire week editing the video only for a YouTube moderator to glance at your work and decide that you're undeserving of pay for your dozens and dozens of work hours? Yes. But I'm grateful. In some circles, I'm known as the BDSM Buddha because I am inhumanly patient, and boy do I love unwarranted punishment. That's why I've taken this as a learning opportunity, so instead of getting all mad and, I think I deserve money for my hours and hours of work, I've taken the high road and I've come back to my garage, put together this beautiful toy crossbow. Here's the never before seen build video of it. I hope you guys like it. I've been terrified to try toy crossbows again for a long time now because of the resounding fail of the last one. But as you can see, it's gonna be freaking awesome once it's finished. But this time I did things way different and I'm like so much more confident in the fact that this is gonna turn out really freaking cool. Because normally I just go straight for it and I try to figure out all the problems as I go. And as a result, like 60% of my time out here in the workshop working on it is just me blankly staring at the table trying to figure out if this next thing I glued together is gonna screw up the whole entire rest of the build. It's pretty spooky and it's very stressful and it takes forever. This time I made a toy prototype. I posted a picture of it. I think you guys really liked it. Now, not only do I have some really good proof of concept about the pretty unique limb system, but I'm also just much more confident in knowing what order I should do things in, so this can just go by so much faster. And in the end, I think it'll lead to a much better video and hopefully more consistency in my build. Wait, hold on. Why do I feel like I've heard myself say that before? More consistent uploads. No, nothing. I don't think so. Anyways, brand new toy crossbow concept. I'm hoping that in the future I'll be able to combine certain concepts, like maybe I can turn this into a reverse draw. Maybe I can even make a super toy crossbow that combines all of my just all my favorite characteristics of all the toy crossbows that I made. So here it is, the build that will be incorporating these poly something cheap shot ultra affordable broadheads. Hope you guys like it. So what I learned from the toy prototype is that I can actually first start on this little box that houses the pivots for the limbs so that I can then clamp it down to like the table or whatever, measure out the draw length, and then build the body of the toy crossbow accordingly so there's no guesswork or complicated math or anything like that. I'm telling you guys, toy prototypes are really changing my life right now. Aww. So on the bottom for the little Superman thing, it's going to be 1.5 inches because the body of the full-size toy crossbow here is going to be 1.5 inches wide, then 4 inches up and then 2 across. Do the same on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. I'm doing 1 inch up and 1/2 inch in and fill in the top. That's looking pretty good, so now I'm going to cut this out in 1/2 inch plywood.
On your face, I'm not seeing it. You all see when I'm dreaming, girl. And when we speak, the words that I'm saying don't reflect what I'm feeling, no.
Now draw this kind of sort of shape on that stencil that you used to cut these things out, and then we're cutting that shape out in whatever material that you're making the limbs out of because it has to be the exact same thickness. In this case, that material is some hickory. I could just go out and find some plywood or some wood that's cheaper, that's the same thickness as this, but I actually want this piece to be extra tough. Now we're going to glue it into the center. Okay, now I have here what the full limbs are going to look like. I really wanted to make sure that the long part of it was one continuous piece of hickory to be as strong as possible. So to do that, I'm doing this in 2 separate parts. So here we have this part traced out on here, and after I cut these out, then I'll cut this shape out here too. Hello, pop quiz. So if the temperature falls below freezing in a forest and no one's around to feel it, does a European still tell you that it's colder where he lives and he doesn't even need to wear a jacket? I'm just kidding. It's Canadians too, for sure. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is you'll notice from here on out there's a lot less cutting footage like on the bandsaw. For multiple reasons. I'm not gonna lie, I got cold and I didn't want to run the camera or mess with it as much as I could, you know, help. But also when you see me cut a couple of pieces of wood, you kind of seen it all, so I figured I'd say both of us at the time. So yeah, that was about it. Alright, just from looking at the limbs, we can tell that this thing is going to end up between 1 and infinity times bigger than this thing. So obviously the parts are going to be handling much greater stress with the greater draw weight and everything. So I'm going to kind of armor the inside of the hole that's going into the limb, and I'm going to put this 1/2-inch steel tube into there. Obviously first though, got to drill the hole. I'm going to use my drill press because I want it to be perfectly up and down. You got to be pretty precise with these toy crossbows. Alright, so I'm going with these rings instead of hooks. I was a little afraid this was going to look stupid, but once I actually put them in here, it actually looks pretty cool. I realized that the only reason why I have hooks on here is because I used a regular rubber band, and you wouldn't really be able to put a rubber band through there. The spear gun rubber is just a straight piece of rubber. It's not in a loop, so you can put it through these. So I've traced out every part that's going to be touching these support braces, and I am just going to cover this thing in glue. Okay, first test. I got this wrapped around 3, technically 4 times. This is kind of scary. Ooh. Dang, that's some draw weight. All right, so at this point, what I'm figuring out is the max draw length for the toy bow. And also these 2 strings right here, I have to see how far out they come because I need to know how long to cut out the hole in the middle of the body of the toy crossbow. So I have wrapped the rubber around there so that I know how far I can actually draw it under tension. And then I've clamped this on here, and I'll review the footage after to see how far these 2 strings come out. I'm sure there's a way I could do this using math, but I was homeschooled. Alright, this is not so much a toy crossbow, and it's more of a toy ballista, I guess, at this point. Because I guess I'm putting a massive 34-inch draw length on this thing. This is gonna be so scary to shoot. Alright, I gotta review the footage and see how far back those 2 strings went. I'll get a wider angle so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. 34 inches. Dang, I could go back to 38. Oh boy, that rubber's looking pretty thin though. Not sure how much of that I could take. And also, if this breaks, I'm definitely going to replace these hickory rings with some oak plywood rings. I think that probably would have been a better call. Hickory's really tough though. I should get a few shots out of this before anything dramatic happens. I really wasn't expecting this to be so gigantic. So if and when I make another toy crossbow really soon, I'm gonna make it much smaller, and I'm also gonna be using this rubber instead of what I'm using on this one. So it should be really compact, but also crazy powerful. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about this though too. This is gonna be really cool. Now, you know what? I'm gonna redo this. I didn't want to make a toy ballista right now. I just wanted like a normal toy crossbow. I think a toy ballista would be fun in the future, but it's not my gig right now. I think the limbs at this point are just too long. I'm gonna shorten them down. I'm also gonna make these brackets longer so that those two inner strings aren't rubbing up against this thing so much. And I actually think I'll gain a lot of speed out of that because then the rubber's not working against such a long lever. Yeah, I'm gonna make it shorter. Hopefully I can get this pretty powerful with under 34 inches of draw length. That's just kind of ridiculous. I think it's better this way for everybody. Okay, I'm gonna take 5 inches off of both limbs. Things you can say to a toy crossbow and not a surgery patient. Oh man, you know how you get a haircut and for like the first 20 minutes you're just looking in the mirror like, I screwed up, I screwed up so bad. Right now I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh no, was that too much? Heck. I'm making a new set of wheels on here and I just discovered something pretty cool. I make a little sandpaper belt and I put this in and I run it until it heats up and starts smoking and eventually tears out. It has like a fire hardening effect on it. So the outside is super slick and like bonded together. That is a nice looking wheel. Okay, here it is now. I was right. I like this way better. So now from here, plenty draw weight right there. That's at least 50 pounds of draw weight. Let me attach the ruler now. All right, full draw is about 27 inches. That is much better. 27, 28, and 30. That's not safe. Trigger warning, trigger warning. Exit this video immediately if triggers are your trigger. This is a trigger warning. Get the heck out. And guys, look, this isn't me, okay? I really try to make a habit of not bragging about things, but every couple hundred years, there's something that I'm just a little bit too proud of, and I gotta treat myself a little bit. And guys, look at this trigger mechanism. You're gonna draw the string back here, and it's gonna hit this button and engage the lock. And as hard as you try, you can't pull back until pull the trigger. Oh my gosh, guys. To go from the throwing squares to this, man, human evolution is amazing. Okay, and the way that I made these two individual pieces right here, you'll notice that it's actually some 6mm plywood sandwiched in between some 1/8" steel. I did that for a couple of reasons, one of which is so that when I draw the toy bow, I can actually knock the toy arrow before I even fire it. I've done pretty much all my other toy crossbows like this, where the toy arrow is just sitting in there, and then when you pull the trigger, this part right here pushes the string out of this notch, and then the string just smacks into the, well, that didn't really work. If you're using the right toy ammo, the string will just smack into the back of the toy projectile and send it off that way. But you know, like you just saw, sometimes that fails. So I think this will be a lot more dependable, just being able to knock the toy arrow before you have to fire. And secondarily, something that was a very pleasant Bob Ross happy accident, having the plywood center makes it really, really easy to plant these little screw eyes in there so that you can super easily attach all these screws to all the mechanisms. Just so convenient. Really would recommend this way of doing things. Now here's the body of the toy crossbow that I've come up with. This is where, what would you say, the cams? Not really cams, but here's where this part of the toy crossbow goes into, and then here is that that length that I was measuring. When I was pulling it back and seeing how far those two strings would go, it ended up being about 6 inches. So right now I'm actually gonna glue this in here. Okay, we got a momentous occasion. Here is the maiden draw. Here we go. Babe, stop. Get back. That wasn't so bad. Man, this kind of sucks. Hopefully it's not too much of a setback. I don't even know if you can see it on camera. Right there. It's so slight. Ew, look at my freaking fingernails. It's freezing out here. It's super dry. I haven't had a manicure in like 23 years. Yeah, maybe my cuticles aren't totally on point right now. Sue me. Look at that though. So slight. But just as I feared, the grain is splitting. I've gotten a few good shots from this so far, but I definitely have to replace this, or one of these days it's gonna explode in my face. I am gonna replace it with 3/4 inch plywood, and I'm also gonna do a better job designing the rings so that there's not so much leverage against them where the rubber is. No idea how I'm gonna do this. Oh man, that table, huh? That's building though, guys. That's how it is. I have no clue how I'm gonna get these out there in there with so much glue. Hey! Okay, well that's out, but I definitely gotta replace these things now. You know, glue is nice because it makes everything a lot stronger, but then it makes it a lot stronger when you're trying to take it apart too. Alright, I'll get back to you guys when I got this all sorted out. And here's what I've done for the stirrup. It's just a 1.5" wide piece of 1/4 inch thick steel, and I've curved it into a little hook. This rests on the ground. You put your foot right here, and it's just like a regular stirrup, only it doesn't make the toy crossbow any longer, which is what I was trying to avoid. And you might notice here, I put a strand of considerably thicker rubber right here. And now, if I'm not mistaken, I should be able to shoot. Heck yeah! Well, geez, guys, that really is about it. It's been fun. I gotta admit, though, I am pretty excited for this to not be a part of my life anymore. Until the next time I make a toy crossbow. On the real, though, probably gonna be keeping the builds a little more tame for a little while now. I can't be doing this video every 2 or 3 weeks thing anymore. But I will be up and out of this crappy garage soon enough, and it could not be soon enough. This video brought to you by a nice warm hoodie. I think the phantom white ones are my new favorite, but heck is actually a bestseller right now. It's pretty funny. I never would have guessed that. I'm hoping to have even more designs come out pretty soon. I think that's probably a good way to go now that, you know, YouTube is having a heyday with the demonetization business. I don't feel like we need to talk about that anymore, though. Thank you guys so much for all the help with the house. It's funny. I literally almost made exactly $1,000 from my last hoodie sales, and it couldn't have been soon enough. I keep saying that, huh? Yeah, whatever, I'm rambling. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, and bye-bye.